It's a strange feeling, recognizing a face instantly, remembering the exact moment, the place, even the smallest details of a conversation, but the name? Completely gone. It slips away like it was never there in the first place. And in that awkward pause, there's always that silent panic. I know this person. So why can't I remember their name? Most people assume it's just bad memory, carelessness, maybe even a lack of interest. But the truth is, it's rarely that simple. Forgetting names can actually reveal something much deeper about how a person's mind works, how they process the world, how they prioritize information, and even how they connect with others. Because names are different. Unlike stories, emotions, or experiences, names don't carry meaning on their own. John is just a sound. Sarah is just a label. There's no built-in emotion, no visual, no story attached, unless the brain actively creates one. And for some minds, that extra step just doesn't happen automatically. So instead, the brain focuses on what feels more important in that moment. And depending on the type of person, that important thing can be completely different. There are hidden psychological patterns behind this, and once they're understood, forgetting names starts to make a lot more sense. Some people live most of their lives inside their own heads. From the outside, they seem present. They nod, they smile, they respond at the right times, but internally, their mind is constantly moving. Thoughts overlap. Conversations are analyzed in real time. There's a quiet, non-stop dialogue happening beneath the surface. So when someone says, "Hey, I'm Alex," it doesn't land the way it's supposed to. Because in that exact moment, the brain might already be busy thinking, what should I say next? Do I sound confident? Did that come out right? What does this person think of me? And while all of that is happening, the name, the simplest piece of information, barely registers. It's not ignored on purpose. It just doesn't get the attention it needs to stick. And later, when that same face appears again, everything else comes back. The context, the tone, the interaction. But the name? It was never properly stored to begin with. Then there are people who experience the world emotionally more than logically. For them, interactions aren't about labels, they're about feelings. They remember how someone made them feel within seconds, whether the energy felt warm, distant, genuine, awkward. They pick up on subtle things, body language, eye contact, tone shifts. So instead of remembering, "This is Emma," their brain remembers something like, "This is the person who felt kind and easy to talk to," or "This is the one who made things slightly uncomfortable." Names don't hold much weight in that process, because from their perspective, a name doesn't define a person, the experience does. The emotional imprint becomes the memory, not the label attached to it. And that's why they can describe someone perfectly, without ever recalling what they were called. Then comes a completely different type, the overloaded mind. Modern life has changed the way attention works. There's always something happening. Notifications, messages, short videos, constant scrolling. The brain is exposed to more information in a single day than it used to handle in much longer periods of time. And when that happens, the brain adapts. It starts filtering. Not everything is allowed in. Not everything is stored. Small, seemingly unimportant details, like a random name during a brief introduction, often get pushed aside. It's not because the brain is weak. It's actually doing the opposite, protecting itself from overload. Think of it like this. If the mind tried to remember every single name, every small detail, every passing interaction, it would become overwhelmed very quickly. So instead, it prioritizes what feels useful or meaningful in the moment. And unfortunately, names don't always make that list. But here's where it gets even more interesting. Sometimes forgetting names has nothing to do with memory capacity at all. It's about connection. People tend to remember what they connect with. If there's no strong connection formed during that first interaction, no emotional spark, no meaningful context, no repetition, the name doesn't anchor itself to anything. It just floats and eventually disappears. That's why someone can meet dozens of people in a day and forget most of their names. But remember one person clearly, simply because something about that interaction stood out. Maybe it was a shared moment, a similar interest, a unique conversation. The brain holds on to what feels different. Everything else fades. There's also a subtle pressure attached to names that most people don't talk about. The expectation to remember them, the fear of getting them wrong. That tiny moment of anxiety when introductions happen in quick succession, especially in social settings. That pressure can actually interfere with memory itself, because instead of calmly processing the name, the brain goes into a mild stress response. Don't forget this. Pay attention. Remember this name. And ironically, that pressure makes it more likely to be forgotten. Memory works best when it's relaxed, not forced. So, in trying too hard to remember, the brain ends up doing the opposite. And then later on, there's that familiar situation. Seeing someone approach, recognizing them instantly, smiling, acting normal. But internally, there's a search happening, a quiet scramble to find the missing piece. The name, sometimes it comes back at the last second. Sometimes it doesn't, and in those moments, people often judge themselves harshly. Why am I like this? This is so basic. I should remember this. But the reality is, it's not always about effort. It's about wiring. Different minds prioritize different things. Some people are naturally better with names because their brain attaches them to structure or repetition, patterns, associations. Others are better with faces, emotions, or conversations. It's not a flaw. It's a difference. And once that difference is understood, the guilt around it starts to fade. Because forgetting a name doesn't mean forgetting a person. It doesn't erase the interaction. It doesn't mean the moment didn't matter. It simply means the brain chose to hold on to something else instead. Maybe the way that person laughed. Maybe the topic of the conversation. Maybe the feeling that lingered afterward. And in a strange way, that can be more meaningful than a name itself. Because names are labels, but experiences are what actually stay. And the next time the awkward moment happens, that pause, that hesitation, it can be seen a little differently. Not as a failure, but as a small reminder that the human mind doesn't work in perfect, organized lists. It works in layers, in emotions, in priorities, in patterns that aren't always visible on the surface. And sometimes, a forgotten name is just the side effect of a mind that was paying attention to something deeper all along.